Now, before we get into any real flesh and blood examples of this, can you, for a lay audience, explain exactly what the particular part of Dodd-Frank that affects you is and what you hope might be done about it?
Oh, excellent question, Tom. Thank you so much for asking. There's one particular targeted fix that we're aiming for with Dodd-Frank, and it has actually its origins go back to the SAFE Act, which then was made worse by Dodd-Frank. And it began in the SAFE Act where government began to restrict individuals as to what they could do with their own real property, and limited the number of transactions that an individual or an entity could perform in a given year, specifically seller finance transactions. This is where I own a piece of real estate, and I agree as a term of the sale to accept payments over time. Rather than cash up front, rather than bank proceeds from a loan up front, I want you to make payments to me over time. Yes, I may have an interest rate in there. Yes, I may have an early payoff, call later, featured later, so on, different things like that. But with the SAFE Act, I went from being able to do that with as many houses as I owned to now I could only do it with 5 per calendar or per 12-month period of time. And then Dodd-Frank took it down to 3. And when Dodd-Frank said, when you do 3, you can do the first one this way, where you can make it to where there's a balloon payoff provision at 60 months or thereafter, and you can change the interest rate 60 months or thereafter. But if you do a second or a third one in that same 12-month period of time, well, you can't put those same provisions in the second and third note in terms of the sale that you negotiate with buyers number 2 and 3. So this is where Dodd-Frank literally steps on you and shackles you down as to what you can and can't do with your own capital, with your own assets.
What is the official rationale for this?
The official rationale is the same official rationale we always see thrown around here. We need to protect consumers.
But how had they been abused by this practice in the past that they would need this protection?
Well, you see, this is where an all-encompassing dragnet was thrown out by those in Washington, D.C., and those on Wall Street that think that they know more than anybody else, and they took us all in and treated us all the same. They treat me, that I try to sell mobile homes on fair, affordable terms, the same as if I was a regional bank with $29 billion of assets. But it's all under the guise, it's all under the rationale of protecting consumers, to make sure that people can afford the house that they're buying.
It just doesn't seem like the one has a whole lot to do with the other. Whether somebody can afford to buy something doesn't seem to have anything to do with putting burdens on you.
Well, exactly right, because I've got news for you. I am far more interested in someone's affordability on making the payments to me than the mortgage broker or the loan officer or the underwriter is at the bank that's then going to sell that pool of notes off to Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, or somewhere else. Because if they can't afford to make the payments to me, who suffers? I do.
Yeah, of course, you do, yeah.
It's my capital that's at risk. I'm no longer receiving the income. Now, if a loan officer goes out and makes a bunch of loans that the people can't make the payment after 2 or 3 payments, what happens to him? Absolutely nothing. For those of you that don't believe me, please go watch the movie The Big Short again. Look at when they interviewed the 2 mortgage brokers in the movie, down there in Florida. The dudes were boasting about how they could get people in the houses. Did they care if they could pay? No, they didn't care. They got their money and they're gone.